Hello and a warm welcome to the Sweet Spot, the #1 golf tipping show on the internet, brought to you by the Racing Post. Jack Reeve and Steve Palmer to guide you through proceedings this week. I hope we find you well. Steve, do I find you well?
Hiya, Jack. Yeah, I'm all right. It wasn't an enjoyable week of golf last week. It brought me crashing back down to earth. Tom Lewis teased me for a long way in the Italian Open. I don't know whether you were following him. I had high hopes for a place return, deep into Sunday, but his final 9 holes were terrible. Robbie Shelton went well for 2 rounds in the Fortinet, dropped away. It was a terrible tournament for me, the Fortinet, and then no joy in Liv Golf either. So Shane Lowry took a week off after Wentworth. I kind of wish I did as well.
Golf has a beautiful way of humbling you, doesn't it?
Yeah. Just when you think you've cracked it. Yeah, certainly the game of golf. Whenever I have my best ever round, it's usually my worst ever round next time out. And then
Absolutely.
With golf punts, just when you get on a roll and you think you can't be beaten. You're right. It's just a funny old game.
It wasn't a great week in terms of tipping. I'm sure it'll be better this week, but it was fun from an entertainment point of view. I love the Italian Open. I think they're my favourite type of event. Strong, fielded DP World Tour events. It was won by Bobby McIntyre, who got the job done in a playoff, beating Matt Fitzpatrick. It was a brilliant Sunday. What did you make of the tournament, Steve?
Well, I think that was a really important win for McIntyre because his maiden DP World Tour title was not a proper 72-hole stroke play event. It was that Cyprus Showdown, quirky event where the scores were reset after rounds 2 and 3. So he's got the monkey off his back now. He's got a 72-hole DP World Tour victory. And to repel 2 of the best players in the world for it, it's a real feather in your cap. And he was up against Matt Fitzpatrick and Rory McIlroy down the stretch. All credit to McIntyre for handling that. He had a lot of luck around approaching the turn. His approach to the 8th hole looked waterbound, hung up on the rough. And then his drive at the 9th hole went left. There's a lake. It hit trees on the left. There's a lake to the left of the trees. But fortunately, it deflected right, got in decent shape, and he made birdie from there. So, the 8th and the 9th was the key to the tournament for me. He picked up one shot and he could easily have lost 2 or 3. So, I think he'll go forward from here with confidence.
I'm not sure what price Rory went during the tournament, but probably looked the man to beat up until the start of the round 4, really. Where are you at with Rory's game at the moment? Because there's been a few occasions this season where it looks like he's in a really good place and then just doesn't quite get over the line.
Well, it was a horror start, wasn't it? A double bogey to start the final round. Really knocked the stuffing out of him. He didn't have his A game on Sunday. He didn't really have his B game, but it shows what a class act he is. He managed to battle his way into contention. Through 15 holes, he still had a winning chance on Sunday, and then drove into the water on 16. So it's been a busy time for Rory, and he seemed to run out of gas on Sunday.
It's a great hole, that 16th, isn't it? I know risk and reward is often thrown about, but that properly is. It's a delight to watch.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great Ryder Cup there, isn't it? Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Yeah, it's got a lot of fascinating holes, and next year's Ryder Cup's there. I can't wait for that.
Absolutely. Let's look at the Fortinet Championship last week that was won by Max Homer. He's had a really good 12 months. It was nice to see him get the job done, but the headlines were taken by Danny Willett, Steve, who, watching it back, 3-putt from 6 feet, had a putt to win it, then a putt to make the playoff, and then eventually missed that and lost out to Homer. It was in touching distance for Willett, but couldn't get it done.
I think you're being generous there. I think it was 3 foot 7 inches, wasn't it? Yeah,
was it really?
Yeah, it was. It was appalling. It was an appalling.
Looked longer than that.
Yeah. I mean, he was rattled when Homer chipped in. It's an incredible series of events. I mean, if you're following on the exchanges, Homer was 1,000. He was matched at 1,000 just before he chipped in. Willett was laid at 1.01 for thousands of pounds. I think it was strange. Willett's reaction to the chip-in was strange, wasn't he? He was laughing his head off. Willett's reaction throughout were very, very peculiar because he was laughing after the chip-in and he was laughing after the 3-putt. He was just laughing as he shook hands with Max Homer. Willett's caddy was not laughing. Willett's caddy looked gutted, but Danny Willett seemed to take it all in his stride. He was laughing like a hyena.
Do you think it's one of those, Steve, where you almost you have to laugh because you know what you've just done, and you almost set the expectations of when Homer chipped in, because he duffed his previous shot, hadn't he? He's kind of fatted it, and it was lucky the chip in because it was rattling through at pace. To me, it looked like Willett had gone, well, it's done now, and if I do 3-putt, then I'm not going to be disappointed. I think that's a real shame because it would have been nice to see Willett get it done.
Yeah, it's one of those you got to laugh or cry, I suppose. And he didn't want to cry in front of all those people. And yeah, it's a very gracious interview afterwards that Willett did. I suppose you could say handled it well, but yeah, you couldn't imagine Tiger Woods doing that and laughing his head off. It wasn't a very Tiger-like reaction. But yeah, the Fortinet was really annoying for me because Max Homa was there to be had. There was a very flimsy reason I gave for not having him at 16-1 pre-tournament, that he would lack his focus. Because he's making his debut for America this week. It's a big moment for him, this President's Cup. And I just wondered whether he'd take his eye off the ball, but he was really focused throughout. That was a red herring. I mean, there was two internationals, Corey Connors and Cam Davis. They're both making their President's Cup debut this week, and they missed the cut last week. So maybe there was something in the theory, but yeah, I was really angry with myself for not having Homer. He's won 3 times in California, his home state of California. He loves those conditions. 3 PGA Tour wins out of 5 have been in his home state. And he loves that course. So yeah, we're kicking ourselves. But yeah, unbelievable drama at the end. There aren't many tournaments that are won like that, Jack. 1.01 beaten on the last. Your Dustin Johnson 3-putt maybe at there was a Chambers Bay. Remember that one when he 3-putted from about 12 feet? I think that's probably the most recent example I can think of. But yeah, Danny Willett took it well. Maybe he will recover, but I don't know.
It does prove, though, just how difficult golf tournaments are to win, because throw down a ball 999 times and the maximum Willett does there is 2-putt. All he's got to do is cushion it up to the hole and tap it in. So I know Bruce always bangs on about this, but when you see people describing people as bottlers, I don't think that's quite fair. It's incredibly difficult to get it done.
You're right, and it's absolutely fine margins in the golf betting game. You talk about McIntyre there in Italy. If his drive at 9 goes left off that tree rather than right, he probably make a double bogey rather than a birdie, and he won't win. If his approach to 8 bounces a little bit further left, he's inches away from going in the water there. So it's a game of fine margins, and it's a fun ride for us. And if it goes your way, if Lady Luck's on your shoulder, then you can have some great moments. But yeah. I mean, I think Taylor Montgomery deserves a mention if we're sticking with Fortinet, because he finished 3rd. Did you notice Taylor Montgomery finished 3rd? Yeah, we backed Monty for a major earlier in the year. He's a really solid player, leaderboard regular on the Corn Ferry Tour last year. I think he may become a leaderboard regular on the PGA Tour. And your old mate Ricky Fowler, Jack, we must mention Ricky Fowler. He finished 6th last week. He finished 6th. That's really encouraging effort for Fowler. Back-to-back weekend 69s. He'd be very satisfied with that. He's got a new caddy on the bag, Ricky Romano. So Ricky's got Ricky on the bag.
What a name.
Ricky Romano. Veteran looper. And he had a new set of irons in the bag last week. Fowler. He's gone back to Butch Harmon. Did you know that, Jack?
I didn't. No.
Ricky Fowler's gone back to Butch Harmon. They've just been talking on the phone at the moment, but they've got a face-to-face session next month. So Harmon's based in Las Vegas. There's a PGA Tour event in Las Vegas next month. So Fowler and Harmon can link up together for the first time there. Yeah, so Fowler's rung the changes and he's off to a good start.
Superb. Well done to Max Homa, turning into a very classy operator. Let's take a quick look at Liv Golf over in Chicago, won by Cam Smith. Big name winner over there. I must say, Steve, I didn't watch too much of Liv Golf, so I typed in Liv Golf Chicago into Google this morning to see what reports I could read, and all of the top stories were all about Bryson DeChambeau walking into the spectator rope. So I don't know if it was a dull tournament or that was just the fun bit of it, but it was won by Cam Smith, and we saw Bryson get very animated over walking into some rope.
It wasn't a dull tournament for the favourite backers, was it? I mean, Cameron Smith, 5-1 joint favourite at the start. The other joint fav, Dustin Johnson, finished 2nd. I think these Liv Golf favourites are going to end up getting really short, because we discussed it on Sweet Spot before. There's no draw bias to worry about. Punters can bet these favourites with confidence. There's no excuses for them failing with no draw bias. And I thought last week it was a really good example of this, because Rory McIlroy went off 7-2 favourite in the Italian Open. His backers would have tuned in on that opening morning and completely soiled themselves with fear, because McIlroy was out in really strong winds, horrible weather conditions, and he got off to a terrible start. He could have been, your 7-2 shot could have been blown out of the tournament in the opening 9 holes in a significant draw bias, and you're never going to get those concerns in Liv Golf. Liv Golf is a good betting medium in that regard. And as I say, I think these favourites, because Smith and Johnson, class acts, they're top 10 in the world players for me. The cream is rising to the top in Liv Golf. So don't leave Liv Golf out your calculations, because the favourites are appealing options. I got too ambitious last week. My 2 outsiders made no impact. I
I
think
don't think you were ambitious. Horsfield, that's never too ambitious. Had every chance.
Oh, you love it. You love it, yeah. But I just think we have to give the favourites respect in Liv Golf because, as I say, they've got no excuses for not performing.
Anything else to add on that one, or shall we move on to this week's tournaments?
I think we should because we've got a big one, haven't we? It's traditionally a big one.
We have. It's the President's Cup, isn't it? At Quail Hollow this year. Steve, talk us through what we can expect from this week's tournament.
Well, we're at Quail Hollow, Charlotte, North Carolina, 7,571 yards, par 71, a very long par 71, 3 par 5s, and regular host of the Wells Fargo Championship on the PGA Tour, hosted since 2003, apart from 2017 and 2022, and it also hosted the 2017 USPGA, which was won by Justin Thomas.
How are we approaching this? Because obviously we've got the USA is very short price favourites. They're 7s on. I think they've won the last 8 outings of this, haven't they? The International 7-1, the tie at 16-1. In terms of approaching this from a betting perspective, how are you going about it?
If you're a high roller, you can get involved at the short USA prices. I know a fella that's had 21 grand to win 3. It's just, but you need to obviously have huge means to do that. My tactic is, there's winning margin betting out there, and obviously we've got top point scorer markets to play in and correct score markets. So I've got some tactics for you, Jack.
Before we get into what your tips for this event, are there any notable absentees from either side? I think most people probably know the teams. We won't run through every player, but any players you were expecting to turn up that won't be?
Well, obviously, Liv Golf's had a huge bearing on it, Jack, and this is why I think that 1-7 USA is perfectly fair. I just can't see anything other than an emphatic home win. The last time the States had a home President's Cup match, they won 19-11. And that was when the internationals were able to pick their best players. Obviously, with Liv Golf defectors now, they can't. That was when Jason Day was an elite player. That was when Hideki Matsuyama was world number 3. That was when Louis Oosthuizen and Charles Schwartzel were feared in this competition. Liv Golf has destroyed this internationals team, Jack. Cameron Smith, Wacom Neiman, Louis Oosthuizen, Mark Leishman, Abraham Answer. That's 5 players that would definitely have been in this team. Schwartzel probably would have got a wild card pick from Trevor Immelman. So half of the team has been surrendered to the Saudis. The internationals don't have the strength and depth to handle that. And America haven't really been affected by Liv Golf. I mean, Dustin Johnson is the only real Liv Golf casualty that the Americans would be bothered about missing out on. So already, this was a one-sided competition before, and I think it's just become a total non-event now. There's people trying to hype up out there. I just think the Americans are so superior that the cup will be secured very early on Sunday. I suspect it might be 14-4 heading into the singles.
Oh wow! Well, with that being said, though, it does present some kind of opportunity for your tipping this week.
There's
where should we start?
Options. There's plenty of options. As I say, high rollers can go 1-7. I mean, the other bet I like is the USA to win by 7 points or more. I've seen 20-23 out there with Bet365. USA to win by 7 points or more. I think it's a really attractive wager. I think they'll win by, I've got them winning by 14 points, let alone 7 points or more. Look at the average world ranking of the Americans, Jack, 11.6. 3 of the world's top 5 are in the team. They're all in the top 25 of the rankings. The international's highest ranked player is Hideki Matsuyama, world number 17. Matsuyama's been struggling with injury. You can't really hang your hat on him. Their average world ranking is 48.9. They've even got a player outside the top 100 of the world rankings in Taylor Pendrith. And you look at the pairings. Americans have got natural pairings. The best example is Cantlay and Schauffele. Best buddies. They've just been on holiday together. I think they've had success together for their country already. They won the Zurich Classic together in April. The internationals don't have natural pairings. For one very good reason for that, they've got 8 rookies on the team this year. There's never been a team in the President's Cup with more rookies than this. 8 rookies. It's the youngest team in President's Cup history. I think they're lamb to the slaughter, and you start wondering, you start thinking about complacency. Will the Americans get complacent? But I think the captain's perfect for that, because Davis Love, if you remember, was the captain for the Miracle of Medina. He was the fall guy in the Miracle of Medina, the 2012 Ryder Cup, Europe's greatest comeback. Love will not want to follow up presiding over that debacle. by being the first American captain to lose the President's Cup since 1998. So yeah, I think Davis Love will set his team a target to win 22 points. 22 points, Jack. No American side has ever scored 22 points in the President's Cup, and I think that'll be the target. And that, so it's in terms of bets. USA win by 7 points or more, as I say, but then you've got the correct score market, Jay. You can have loads of darts at that. Yeah. As you say, a lot of punters will look at this and see 1-7 USA. Yeah, it's no good for the working man. But with the correct score prices, you can have a few little darts on the correct score, and have a lot of fun that way.
So what would you be advising in terms of the correct score, or are you leaving people to make their own minds up on that?
I would advise USA to win 22-8. Which is a 25-1 chance from what I've seen so far. The price is still trickling out. USA won the Ryder Cup last year 19-9. That was the heaviest defeat ever dished out to Europe. I think they can follow up with a record-breaking President's Cup victory. The record in the President's Cup is 21.5 to 10.5. 22 years ago they won 21.5, 10.5. So I think they can edge ahead in that and go 22-8. It's entirely feasible. Yeah, it's so easy to see that happening. Look, 4-1 first session, 4-1 second session, 3-1, 3-1, 8-4. USA won the singles 8-4 last time. If all those things happen, that's 22-8. So
yeah, when you put it like that, it seems like a huge margin, doesn't it? But when you detail it up into little chunks, it does seem entirely feasible. But let's get all of your bets down on one page then, because there's a lot going on here. So going into the President's Cup, we think it's going to be a landslide victory for the United States, but let's have Steve Palmer's top tips for it.
So for the high rollers, USA to win at 1-7. For the then take the 20-23 about USA to win by 7 points or more. And then for the correct score stab, 22-8 at 25-1. And that, if you obviously want it, you can have more correct scores around that to make it a safer play. And then we've got the top scorer markets as well. And I think I would tell punters to avoid the top American market. There's no point playing in the top American market. Just play in the top combined, or whatever they call it, top overall point scorer market. Okay, because the top American will almost certainly be the top overall scorer, because the internationals are not going to get many points. So I see 6 main candidates for top overall point scorer, and I'm going to back the 2 biggest price runners in that. I couldn't put anyone off the front 4 in the betting. Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay and Justin Thomas, all fair bets. But I'm going for the bigger odds about Jordan Spieth and Sam Burns.
Okay.
Jordan Spieth is 14-1, Jack. Plenty of juice in that price when you consider that his partnership with Justin Thomas should see plenty of action. They first teamed up together in the 2018 Ryder Cup. That was on an American side that was thrashed 17.5, 10.5 in the Golf Nacional. But Spieth and Thomas played 4 matches together and won 3 of them. Stricker mixed things up a little bit in the last Ryder Cup. Spieth and Thomas only played together twice, 1 win, 1 defeat. These are great mates. I think they'll ask Davis Love to play together this time. Natural chemistry. I think they'll be extremely tough to beat. Thomas won the USPGA at Quail Hollow. So Jordan Spieth 14-1 is the first top scorer bet, and the second one is Sam Burns at 12-1. Who was very good friends with Scotty Scheffler. They have lots of practice rounds together on the PGA Tour. Burns was Scheffler's practice partner in Augusta in the lead up to Scheffler's Masters win. I think there's a great chance that Scheffler and Burns play together. Scheffler does not have an obvious partner. Bryson DeChambeau, the aforementioned Bryson DeChambeau, was Scheffler's partner in the Ryder Cup. Obviously, DeChambeau nowhere to be seen this time. So, I think Scheffler will ask to play with Burns. Davis Love will say yes. Scheffler obviously is favourite for top scorer. Burns is 12-1.
Are you still excited for it though, Steve? Because I think, as you say, the lead up has been slightly diluted because of the Liv Golf drama, but you're still up for it?
I'm up for it. I just hope that I hope the Americans show no mercy. I mean, the neutral wants to see a tight contest, don't they? I noticed on Odds Checker's most popular bets today, the internationals are on there, and it breaks my heart to see that, because punters are obviously thinking, oh blimey, it's a 2-horse race. Let's get involved in the international. And I would urge punters not to do that. It's the biggest price they've probably ever been. And I've seen people. I think there's too many people maybe employed by the PGA Tour writing previews about this, because all the previews I've seen so far have predicted a tight contest. And I think there's people promoting a tight contest for the benefit of the event, rather than being honest about it. And the worst one I saw was there was one going on about it's match play. Anything can happen in match play. And I just thought anything can happen in match play. What does it even mean? Like, if you or I, Jack, if it was Jack Reeve and Steve Palmer against Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay in match play, match play.
We'd have every chance, Steve. Have some belief. I know you want to see a mauling, but back the boys.
They would win on the 10th green, 10 and 8, 10 and 8. It doesn't matter that it's match play. The best. They're the best team will win. They're far superior. So if I was a neutral, I'd be supporting the internationals, and I want to see a lovely game of golf. But as a punter, I am excited as a punter because I think there's money to be made from a heavy American victory.
Okay, there we go. If there's any Americans watching, I'm sure that will please you hugely. Let's take a look at the other tournament this week, and that's the French Open.
Sorry, Josh, I forgot. There's so many tips. I've forgotten to give a top international tip. And
go on then.
Yeah. So avoid top American, but don't avoid top international. We've got to have a bet on that. And Cam Davis at 12-1. That's my last President's Cup tip. Cam Davis at 12-1 because I think the best chance the internationals have of scoring points is an all Aussie pairing with Adam Scott. Adam Scott, Cam Davis. I'm not sure, but I'd like to think Trevor Immelman will unleash those two together. Adam Scott, by far the most experienced member of the international side. He's playing his 10th President's Cup. I think he'd love to guide his young compatriot through his debut. Both got technically perfect swings.
I was then going to say, surely that's the most aesthetically pleasing pairing.
Absolutely.
Scott and Davis, that's superb.
Yeah, wow. I agree. I mean, in the olden days, you had Charles Schwartzel and Louis Oosthuizen together. I mean, they fed off each other's rhythm. I think this is a dangerous partnership if it's unleashed, and therefore, Scott's a short price for top international, but Davis is 12-1. So, that would be another President's Cup angle.
Like you're thinking. There you go. That's all you're allowed, Steve, for the President's Cup. We are moving on to the French Open at Liv Golf Invitational, and it's a competitive heat at the top of the market. Patrick Reed and Thomas Pieters, both 16-1. You've got Victor Perez, the Frenchman, at 18-1. Last week's winner, Robert McIntyre, 20s. Jordan Smith, who's had a successful season at 22s, and Ryan Fox, who's also gone very well this season, 25-1. Bigger the rest. I've just seen Adrian Maronk's name on there. I'm sure Steve will have a word on because he's been all over him all season. Looking forward to this one, Steve. Talk us through the course.
Le Golf National, Paris, France, 7,247 yards, par 71, 3 par 5s. One of Europe's finest courses, always a stern test. French Open host 27 times, also staged the Ryder Cup in 2018. Undulating fairways, penal rough, lots of water, slopey greens. You've got to be really accurate. This place sorts the men from the boys.
It's got it all, hasn't it? Let's get your headline tip.
It's Richie Ramsey at 50-1. I think Le Golf National is made for Richie Ramsey. It's a supreme test of accuracy. Ramsey can usually be relied upon to find fairways and greens. He's got such a tight, compact golf swing. Not much can go wrong. And recently, lots has been going right. He was third in the British Masters in May, came close to winning that. And then there were extremely emotional scenes in the Kazoo Classic at the end of July. He promised his daughter that he would win a trophy for her soon. And he delivered at Hillside in that Kazoo Classic. Bravely hold a putt on the last for victory there. Steady but unspectacular form since. I think he goes up a gear in Paris this week. He'll sense a great opportunity. He was 5th at Le Golf National in 2011. He was 5th again there in 2019. That's the last French Open we've had. He won in France on the Challenge Tour early in his career. So, I think Richie's going to bring a proper trophy home to his daughter this time. I think I discussed it with you on the Sweets, but the Kazoo Classic trophy was like a dinner plate, wasn't it? It was really quite disappointing, I think. But the French Open trophies are really beauty. It's a real fat trophy. I think little Olivia is going to be more pleased with this one.
It's fair to say, though, Steve, a step up in class for Richie Ramsey. If he's going to win this week, he's going to have to be at his very best.
Yeah. I don't think there's anyone in this field he'd fear, though. He's a former US amateur champion. He's a prolific winner on the tour now. I think he believes in himself. He's a strong character. I mean, he's talking about retiring. He turns 40 next year, and he says he doesn't want to do this forever. He wants to finish his career with a flourish, and that might come earlier than many people realise. Yeah. He hasn't quite decided on his career plans yet, but I think 50-1 is a really, really good price.
It does seem big, doesn't it? Richie Ramsey, the headline tip. Who's next?
Next best is Victor Perez. There's some 20-1 out there for Victor Perez, gunning for glory in his home country this week. He'll be thrilled with the timing of last week. His A game came back last week just in time for his National Open. Final round 67 on Sunday to finish third in the Italian Open, one shot shy of the playoff. This year has been great for Perez. He's re-established himself as one of the best players on the DP World Tour. He won the Dutch Open in May. He was third in the European Open in June. He's back inside the top 100 of the world rankings. Ball striking is his great strength. He's made for Liv Golf National. He finished 16th there last year. That was only his second start in the French Open. I expect better this time. I think he's the man. There's a lot of Frenchmen in this field. I think he's the man that the galleries are going to be cheering on Sunday.
He's got a lovely swing as well, hasn't he, Perez?
Yeah.
There's something lovely about watching tall people swing. That's why I love Vilko Ninabu, who we haven't spoken about before, but I don't know how they just keep their limbs in sync.
It's a really fluid swing, isn't it? You're right. And he started using a glove, thank goodness. I used to find it difficult with Victor Perez because he didn't use a glove. I always think that's just just handicapping yourself for no reason there. But this year he started using a glove and he's flying.
Would you rather no glove or the Aaron Rai approach of 2 gloves?
Oh well, yeah, I think 2's a bit too much. But, I think 1 glove is the magic ingredient.
Absolutely. Victor Perez on the list. How many more have we got to go, Steve?
Just 1. Yeah, just 3 tips in this. And the final one is Marcus Kinhult at 60-1. It's probably good that Bruce is not here because I think I'll get one of Bruce's famous faces for Marcus Kinhult because we've been tipping him a lot lately without success. But I want to keep the faith. Because I think Le Golf National is a great fit for Kinhult. He made an incredible course debut in 2018. He turned up as a rookie maiden. He'd missed 5 of his previous 8 cuts on the DP World Tour. He had no right to play well that week. He took a 2-shot lead into Sunday. Took a 2-shot lead in the final round, finished 5th. Magnificent effort. He's quickly showed his love for this assignment, and then he confirmed that love in the last French Open 2019, 4 solid rounds for 11th place. So, Kinhult seems to like France in general. He was 5th in the Challenge Tour, his last Challenge Tour outing in France. He finished 5th, 2017. Class act, broken record for me, but he's a former world number 2 amateur. Sorry. He's always going to be a superstar. He's only 26. Keep the faith in Kinhult. He's narrowly missed the cut in his last 2 starts, but he was 3rd in the Kazoo Classic in July, won by Richie Ramsey. I could easily see Kinhult winning on Sunday.
Okay, keeping the faith with Kinhult. Just looking at the top of the market, Steve, who interests you most out of Patrick Reeve, Thomas Pieters and Bobby McIntyre?
Well, Patrick Reed's teeing up for the 4th consecutive week. He's been doing lots of jet setting. Liv Golf Boston, BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth, Liv Golf Chicago, and now back to Europe for this. So I don't know, 14-1 seems a short price about a player who might be running on empty. Thomas Pieters, I love Thomas Pieters, but Le Golf National requires discipline, course management, patience, supreme accuracy. That it's not natural terrain for Pieters, I don't think. But he's the highest ranked player in the field, must be respected. McIntyre's making his course debut. I've no real urge to play him at 20-1. So to answer your question, I'll probably say Pieters.
Okay. Am I missing something? I thought Ryan Fox might have had a good shout at the President's Cup. Never in selection thoughts?
No, a controversial omission. There's a bit of a criticism that the internationals captains favour players that play on the PGA Tour. Fox's world ranking, he should be in that team. You've got Taylor Pendrith got a pick. He's outside the top 100 of the world rankings. It is a bit unsavoury the way the sort of DP World Tour players are ignored. Ryan Fox would have been an untimely tournament for him anyway because he got injured at Wentworth. He was on his way to a barbecue in the garden of his house that he was staying at Wentworth, and he walked into a table and tore his meniscus. I think that's what they call it. A bit of his knee got torn. So then he had to immediately, it was heartbreaking for him because he had family over from New Zealand to watch him play in the BMW PGA, and then he had to withdraw before the second round because he'd obviously had a couple of tinnies at the bar. Well, I don't know whether he had a couple of tinnies at the bar.
I hope it was after the food and he got to enjoy the spare ribs or whatever was being cooked up.
Well, he said he couldn't walk. He couldn't walk after it, let alone play golf. So he immediately withdrew from Wentworth and then withdrew from the Italian Open. So he's got an injury cloud coming into the French Open. We don't know his fitness.
My goodness, imagine your career being temporarily halted by a barbecue. That's
Yeah,
awful.
yeah. He walked into a table. I mean, yeah, I shouldn't have said he's had a few tinnies. I don't know whether he
Does like a beer, though.
Yeah, you'd imagine he might have had a couple of beers, but yeah, we've all walked into tables. But it's funny, isn't it? I ripped my finger apart on that door behind me there a couple of days ago. And I was thinking at the time, as blood was spewing out my hand, I was thinking, if I was a golfer, like, and I was teeing up tomorrow in a big tournament, yeah, I'd be in big trouble. I wouldn't be able to swing the golf club. So yeah.
Well, was there not danger that your lengthy previews were could have been at fault if you were tapping away on your keyboard?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I have had to amend my typing technique and use a different finger for typing because it hurts so much. Yeah, these things happen. These are human beings, isn't it? They're not robots. They're not. You can't wrap them up in cotton wool. All those tips there that I've just said, one of them could get injured before the tournament starts, which I suppose is why we should bet responsibly. But yeah. Ryan Fox, we don't know how fit he is.
Well, there we go. I think our loyal readers wouldn't have known the turmoil that you've gone through this week to bash out your 800 words. Blood. How do you rip your finger apart on that door? I'm looking at it quite confused.
Well, it's a wooden shed, isn't it? And I was getting my bike. My bike is housed in here. I take it out when I'm at work, and the bike goes out there. The bike comes back in, and it's quite hard to get it in and out. And just as I was bringing it out, I scraped my finger along a hard bit of wood, splinters going in it, and yeah, it was just it was my fault, but these things are easily done. Ryan Fox walks into tables, I scrape fingers along door panels, and blood everywhere. Everywhere.
Well, there we go. Two great athletes of our time, both with home-related accidents. I would say we'll reiterate your tips, Steve, but bearing in mind you got about 17 of the President's Cup, we'll do so quickly.
Yes, President's Cup, USA to win, USA. USA to win by 7 points or more. USA to win 22-8. Jordan Spieth for top point scorer. Sam Burns for top point scorer. Cam Davis for top international scorer.
And breathe. And then French Open.
French Open, Richie Ramsey, Victor Perez, Marcus Kinhult.
Superb. What's the plans for the rest of the week, Steve? I keep thinking it's Monday because we had the day off and I had a Sunday roast on Monday, which completely threw me. But it is Tuesday. So what's going on this week for you?
I'm just trying to adjust to the change of season, Jack. I always get very unsettled in the change of season. We are on the brink of autumn now, aren't we?
They call it the September scaries, don't they?
Oh, do they? Yeah. I'm not surprised. I mean, I find it very scary. 1 minute you're sunbathing and the next minute you're playing with your conkers. I find that really hard to get my head around. We had a really hot summer, didn't we? And now it's starting to get cold. I've been cold in the shed today, and it really does affect me, the change of season. So I'm just trying to stay calm and adjust to the change of season.
I had a real moment of having to discipline myself for the day because I went to turn the heating on, and I thought I just can't do it. It's September. I'm holding out for October, and then I'll whack the thermostat to 20 maybe and really treat myself. But I'm going to delay it. I nearly caved in the other day.
No, don't cave in. No, don't let the Russians win. No, I'm not gonna put the heating on until Christmas Day.
What?
Yeah.
You can't. Surely you can't.
No, there's ways round this. You didn't used to have radiators in the olden days, did you? You battled through with a some bear skin or whatever. So let's just battle through.
Okay. Well, next time on the Speed Spot, when we see Steve Palmer with 7 jumpers on, we'll know why. Steve, great to see you. I hope everyone is well at home. Steve Palmer, quite a few selections. Remember, don't feel the need to back them all, and only ever gamble with money that you can afford to lose. We'll be back next week for another edition of the Sweet Spot. Stay safe, and looking forward to next week's episode. Bye bye.